You've just tuned in to InnoStation, where the latest and hottest topics are always on air. I'm your host, Cami, and each episode will be serving up some fun chats, fire insights, with some special guest appearances and a couple of surprises along the way. Now, today I've got the incredible Dr. Lizelle Grobler joining us from Iqiniso Forensic Investigations. And let me tell you, Dr. Lazelle is an absolute powerhouse, and I genuinely mean that. She has an extensive background as a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. She's a polygraphist, a forensic psychophysiologist, and she's a silk aerialist. Absolutely impressive. Welcome to InnoStation, Dr. Lazelle.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course, I'm so excited to be speaking to you. And I think to get us started, let's help the audience to get to know you a little bit more. Tell us who Lazelle is and what fuels your inner fire.
Okay, so definitely my answer is going to be people. Love, love, love people. I used to, for the last 13 years, my main business was catching criminals, unfortunately, which seemed to be a very negative field. And then with that, I also did the profiling, which I loved, for corporate companies. And we did the trauma counseling, helping people, which was also amazing. So I always said when I'm 50, I'm done catching criminals. So I turned 50 this year, and I'm handing over to my daughter and my team. So she's running my team. We are still doing it, though, but I'm not as involved as I used to be. So now I'm just teaching, and I love the new energy of just teaching people. You know, it feels like I'm making more of a difference in the world, to take my knowledge that I've gained and to just share it with other people. And to me, such a better way to spend your time, if I can put it like that. So so in short, like you've mentioned everything. What my training is about is mostly mind mastery, teaching people how to profile and teaching people how to read body language. How do we know when people are lying to us? So that's mainly what I do in my corporate training and private training as well.
Amazing. Happy 50th. Belated.
Oh, thank you.
And I think let's get into the neuro-linguistic programming that you do, right? Which you have described as activation of the midbrain, which then helps us to achieve things that we otherwise would have thought ourselves incapable of doing. Can you explain what NLP is in more detail and how one goes about activating that midbrain?
Okay, so I do two things, which is a separate thing that we do. The one is the NLP, which is Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So it's basically the neuro stands for the subconscious mind. Linguistics is words, and programming is to reprogram. So we literally manipulate the subconscious mind to reprogram whichever bad programming you've had in your life. So we use that for trauma counseling, just to let people know, and they always understand what I'm saying. Most people know the series The Mentalist. So he's an NLP practitioner. That's the best way to explain to you, because if you have your master's in NLP, then you're a mentalist, meaning that you are able to manipulate the mind. That's, I suppose, a bad word to use, but we do it for good. Obviously, when you do start with your NLP, you do your basic training, and then they're actually very clever, because they assess you before you are able to go further in NLP. So before they let you into a hypnosis training, they will be assessing you to see what is my intentions. Why do I want to be able, to work with people's subconscious? And if they get any indication, and they're very clever, that you want to have it because you want to manipulate people in a bad way, then they just simply won't allow you into the further training. So then when you are accepted, you can do your hypnosis training, which just makes it a little bit more powerful, if I can put it like that. And then after that, after your 350 or so hours, you are able to enter then for your masters, and that is when you become like on a mentalist level. But yeah,
Mhm.
that is NLP. Activation of the midbrain is more the metaphysics side of my training, where I've got my doctorate. That
Ah,
is where you start using your brain more to say, we all know that we've got a very powerful brain, but we don't know how it works. We are, with the little, we just follow whatever people tell us to do. And
yeah.
we don't know what the ability of our brain is. So that is where we teach people to just activate a little bit more of your brain. Yeah, and it's absolutely amazing. But those are two different things.
Oh, amazing. I love that for NLP, it's actually very regulated. I think that's the thing that we wouldn't think about to make sure that the person on the other end has the right intention before equipping them with these tools to be able to do that. And as far as activation of the midbrain, I know my question and probably the audience's question as well is like, how does one then go about activating the midbrain? Do you have like a practical example that you can give us?
Okay, midbrain, let me explain to you what it is first. So when we
Mm,
are children, obviously a child has to be almost have super intelligence to be able to learn everything that they have to do in such a short time. Because when you're a young child, you have to learn to speak, you have to learn to talk, to walk, you have to learn everything that you've got. So they've done a lot of studies where from about age 1 to 4, they find that about 84% of children are almost like they are super, super intelligent. Like
mm,
there's just a very high intelligence. So when they get from about 4 to 6, that drops to about 68%. And then from age 7 onwards, it goes down to a very low, like I think in the low 40s.
mm,
So meaning that we know now that the midbrain closes at age 7.
mm,
We lose a lot of the capabilities of our mind, of our brain when we reach adulthood, because I don't know why, but I think we don't need to activate so much to learn so a lot of information in such a short time.
mm,
So we literally just teach you things like when we do the seeing without eyes thing, for instance, we teach you how to use more of your brain. So we start just activating a little bit more of that, explaining to you what is intuition. We all know that we've got intuition. We call
mhm.
it the sixth sense. We think that only women has it, which is very wrong. Women don't, men also have it. They just don't listen to it like we do. But I think we're going to get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
So when you understand what intuition is, when you understand what your subconscious mind is, and when you start using that, that is where you start activating more of your brain. So, for instance, your conscious mind works at 7 actions per second. Your
Mm.
subconscious mind runs at about 300,000 actions per second. So, starting that is your superpower. Power is your intuition. Accessing that subconscious mind with all this masses of information, that is our superpower. But we don't know how to do that, and that is what we teach people.
That's really cool. Tapping back into like a thing that you once were able to do and then we get older and we lose it. So it's really nice to see that like you can actually get back in touch with that and relearn how to use that part of the brain. Um Now, as an analyst, you are a bit of an expert at examining people's facial expressions or features, rather, their handwriting, and sort of the content of the statements that they make. Could you share some insight into how these traits help to determine a person's character or to reveal a person's character?
Okay, so the first one is the facial features, which
Mhm.
is we call it physiognomy. It's a 5,000-year-old science and is very, very accurate. So
Wow.
it means that every feature on your face tells me something about your personality. For instance, let me give you 2 or 3 tips. I'm going to use your face if you don't mind. So
Sure.
if you look if you look at your lips, it means that you are more extroverted type of person than introverted. When you have thinner lips, you're more introverted. A
Mm,
little bit fuller lips, more extroverted. When you have, for instance, I presume you've got a curved forehead. I can only see you from the front, not from the side. But when you have,
Give your side profile.
yeah, there you go. It's a curved. You see, you've got a little bit of a round forehead, which tells me that you're a very creative person. You live in your mind a lot. You can imagine all these things. You're very creative. You're a little bit of a daydreamer. You've got curved eyebrows, which means you connect emotionally to people. It's like your teachers, your HR managers, your people who work with people. So you're able to empath almost, where you're able to connect to people emotionally. You are able to feel when something's wrong. It throws your whole day if you get into an office and there's people who had a fight. You can't concentrate because why are these people fighting? You're very closely connected to people. And the fact that you've got higher eyebrows than lower, meaning hooded eyebrows, which is low, higher brows means that you think before you speak. You know that you think things through. You won't run off your mouth and then think, oh my word, I shouldn't have said that. So you're more of the person who would think about something before you make a decision, and you're not very impulsive. I can't see your ears, but basically you should have mid ears. You don't have very high ears, you've got mid ears, meaning that you don't walk in, see something and just buy it because you can. You will think about it and make a decision. So that's just in short what I can see on your face. So everything about someone's face tells you a story. And if we are able to understand the person that walks into the room, let's say, for instance, I'm a sales manager. If I push someone like you, for instance, I'm going to lose him because you don't like to be pushed. I don't want to make a decision today. I want the brochures. I want the information. I want to go home. I want to think about it, and I will decide. Where people with low, if they've got a low brow, like almost a hooded brow, very high ears, they're very impulsive. So if a salesperson is going to push you, you're probably going to buy the product immediately because you're impulsive. But now I know how to deal with you so that I don't make you angry or lose you, like with a minute. It takes you about a minute to make a good profile of someone's face. And to teach this to people in a corporate environment so that they can firstly understand each other better and understand the client that they work with better. It is such an advantage to anyone to have that knowledge. I wish they taught us this in school when I was younger. I mean, man, if we had this knowledge going into the world, what an amazing place that would be. And then facial features, you're talking about micro expressions, for instance, is what we use in interrogations. So if someone shows, for instance, you lost your husband is missing or your wife's missing or whatever, and you're not showing fear, but you're showing anger or contempt, there's a problem. Why are you angry? Why are you showing contempt instead of fear or sadness? So you have to look at when you speak to people, what is that split second that they're showing on their face before they hide it? A lot of the time you can't see it with the eye. We when we interview or interrogate, we take a video recording. So afterwards, on the specific questions, if you freeze the frame, you will be amazed on what you see in people's faces, where you could not see it with the naked eye when speaking to them because it happens so quickly. But when you freeze that frame, you see that so clearly. It tells us a story. And then the other thing we do is obviously handwriting analysis is a double fold thing. You can see someone's whole personality in his handwriting, same as facial profiling. Can tell you everything about, are you introverted, extroverted, everything about your personality. Can also say if you're emotionally imbalanced at the moment in your handwriting. You can read deception in handwriting. You can see when someone's lying in their handwriting. And then also statement content analysis is what we say, the words that come from your mouth, because people who lie speak differently from people who tell the truth. There's certain things that they will do. To give you an example, every time someone tells you a story and you think, why would they say that? That's a stupid thing to say. That's a problem. For instance, to give you very famous examples, did you sleep with that woman? If I ask you, did you sleep with that guy? What's your answer going to be? No, no, I didn't. It's a short and
Yeah.
sweet. It's not a, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. We don't speak
Yes.
like that.
We do
It
not.
sounds odd. I had a police statement the other day from a guy who said, I did not give anyone permission on request to steal my company car. It was an armed
On
robbery at
request.
your house. Why would you say it like that? Why would you? It's a company car. Apparently, they robbed his house with his TV and his car and everything, but he
Mm.
told us what he did in his police statement, because I did not give anyone permission on request to steal my company car. It tells me exactly what you did. Someone asked you, can I steal your company car? You gave them permission and they paid you. You were in on it. And we tested him
Yeah.
and he failed like that because people don't speak like that. So where normally, it would go over your head. If I
Mm-hmm.
interrogate someone, for instance, we had a situation where I interrogated a woman about money that went missing that she took home from the office, petty cash money. She was worried to leave it at the office, put it in an
Mm.
envelope. And if you listen to her statement the whole time, the first day when she speaks about the money, she says, I took the money in the envelope, I put it in my bag, got home, put it in my cupboard, the money was still there, everything was fine. And the next morning, the wording changes from money to envelope. She stops
Oh,
talking about money. Now she says the next morning the envelope was still in my bag, took it home, put it under the table. By 12 o'clock when I checked the envelope, the money was missing. What did she do? Her brain wants to keep as close as possible to the truth, because your brain will
mm.
always give you away. Your subconscious will always want to stay as close as possible to the truth. So in her mind, she knew that there was no money in the envelope. So the brain
Right.
started speaking about envelope instead of the word money, because the mind knew that there was no money in the envelope. So someone that's not trained in this would probably miss it. You wouldn't pick it
Right.
up.
Yes.
But it is such a very fine detail, but there is so much that you can pick up on what people are saying. So any emphasis, I did not do that, like
Mm.
very emphasizing something, is probably um, trying to, it's probably something that's deceitful, instead of I didn't. No, short and sweet is more
Right.
accurate, more, yeah. So there's so much that you can hear, and when people speak, it's actually scary.
That is terrifying. That actually is so terrifying. And I imagine like it must be wild to be able to pick that up. Because once you're off the clock in your personal life, you're like, why are you lying to me?
Yeah, unfortunately, I remember when we did a training, detection of deception training, the instructor used to say to us, please remember, if the switch is on, it's on. You will never
Yeah.
switch it off. So yeah, you are not able to switch it off. You know
Right.
immediately when people are lying to you. But I have found that in a social environment, you don't call people on a lie,
Yeah.
because you will, like, within 3 weeks, have no friends left. Um, you do not make people uncomfortable. You don't tell them, and if it's a situation like, let's say, it's a situation where it's a cheating husband or something like that, or cheating wife or whatever, you're not going to call someone on the first lie. Because if you call him on the first lie, he's going to be wary that you know that he's lying. So
Right.
you listen and you give them rope to lie more. Because
Mm.
as they lie more, you get more information. So if I know what you are lying about, it gives me more of an indication of what you are up to. So let them lie, because
Hmm.
somewhere they're going to lie themselves into a corner. If
Yeah.
you allow people to lie more, there is a point in time where you can not go any further, where your lies are going to catch up to you. It will always
Mm.
happen. The truth will always hunt you down. Um,
Right.
and you need to give them rope. In an interrogation, I speak very little. We've got 2 ears and one mouth for a reason, I believe. Is people feel intimidated when they are
Mm.
feeling threatened because they know they're lying, and you just look at them because they don't know what you know. You make them feel
Right.
uncomfortable. If you are feeling guilty, silence is not a good thing. You feel uncomfortable. The longer the silence, the more uncomfortable. So what do? You start speaking. And when you speak just to sort of close uncomfortable silence, you always give too much information.
Yeah.
You give me information that I did not ask you. You are denying things that I did not ask you. And we just draw that information by listening. But yeah, that you keep quiet. You ask the question and you keep quiet. You don't speak the whole time. You let people lie because that's how you get to the truth.
That is incredibly interesting. Now, I think as part of this, you've also mentioned that you do offer training to corporates that are looking to fill sort of high profile positions, and you teach them sort of mind, body, and language training. How important are these techniques in sort of finding the right fit for the position?
Okay, so if we do a profile on someone, you need to know that the person that you are appointing, let's say I'm looking for a good sales rep,
Mm-hmm.
and to start off with, your bottom lip should be thicker than your top lip. If you're a good salesman, that's a dead giveaway. If that's not the case, you are not naturally a good salesperson. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying that you can't. I'm just saying it's going to be harder for you than someone that it comes naturally for. Like
Right.
those people that can sell ice to an Eskimo, if you know someone like that and they just always are able to either win the fight because they can bring their, their point over to you, or they're just a good salesman. I promise you, 95% their bottom lip will be thicker than the top lip. So if you know things like that, you know what to look for. If
Mm-hmm.
I tell you I'm a people person, but I've got eyebrows like that, you're not a people person. Sorry, you just not. So that's the problem with interviewing is people can put in their CV what they want. They can tell you what they want. You don't know that person. So how do I make sure that I don't waste my money and appoint the wrong person and find out 6 months down the line, oh my word, I appointed the wrong person.
Right.
So a lot of corporates invest in that because they can't afford anymore to make those type of mistakes, especially on a very executive level, because it's costing you money. So, yeah, by profiling someone, you sometimes just sit in on the interview. So, firstly, to pick up on whatever tips they're telling you about their CV or their experience or whatever it might be. We also are able to check your criminal record, your certificates, your background, everything on your resume. We are able to check if it's true. I mean, in South Africa specifically, we find that, and all around the world, we find people that are able to put themselves. I can't remember if it's a girl or a guy. I must actually get my information, that put themselves forward as a medical doctor and they don't have the qualification. I don't know how the hell he did it, but
Yeah.
and a pilot. In South Africa, we've got a pilot that were not trained, went through the full commercial thing, and he's been flying for how many years, and they don't have
Right.
the proper training. So what's going to happen in a situation like that? I'm not saying he can't fly. Obviously, he can fly, but he
Mm.
did not go through the proper training that he was supposed to have. Because in South Africa, apparently you can, unfortunately, let me put it like that, everything's for sale. Every
Mm.
qualification, every certificate, an ID. If you want to buy an ID, you can buy an ID. You can buy your driver's license. We know how it is.
Yeah.
So how do we know that the certifications that you give me is the proper certification? So that's where we come in. So interview, profile, check the qualifications, and that just, yeah, saves you money and make sure that you will be a fit for the position that they want to put you in.
Right. And I think it also saves organizations sort of the legal implications because, sure, it's all good and well when things are going great. But if something does happen and then it turns out that, like, the company didn't do their due diligence in terms of qualifications, etc., that's a big problem as well.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, that is a problem. So, yeah, if you can do all those things and save money, And then obviously we can also do your psychometric testing. We've got someone on staff that, psychologist that does that for us. So we can do all those things. If you want certain characteristics, apart from the profiling that we do, psychometric testing, if we put the two together, it's always a fit. The profiling always speaks with the psychometric testing, and then we know we're good. You've got the person that you're looking for. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, psychometric testing and things like that can be very expensive. So that is where I prefer profiling, because it's the same accuracy level, but you get the same end result, but it's just, not as expensive.
Yeah. And while we're on the topic of sort of trainings, are there any courses and like trainings that you offer outside of like your offerings for corporates as well?
Yes, I do quite a few. If people are interested, they can just look at my Facebook page at Dr. Lizelle Grobler. So I do have Zoom trainings where it's specifically for the private market. So if you as a person are interested in learning these things, you sign up for one of the Zoom trainings. We are busy. This year we did the basic level. So you teach basic facial profiling, basic body language, and basic mind mastery. Next year, I'm going to launch my advanced trainings for everybody that did the basics last year. They can now do the advanced. I will also be launching separate training. So for instance, if I am interested in the facial profiling, but not in the mind mastery, I can sign up for a Zoom where I can do the basic and the advanced, but then it's only facial profiling for that session. And then I'll do the same with mind mastery and the same with body language. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. No, we're going to link to your website and then also to your Facebook as well for anybody that is interested in sort of grabbing a course ahead of the new year. Now, with your business, Clinical Forensic Investigations, you've led sort of an all-female team. And this goes back to what we were speaking about with regards to intuition. And you said the basis of this is basically that women are a bit more intuitive than men, or that we sort of pay more attention to our intuition. Why do you think that is? Why are we that much more inclined to sort of pay attention to what the intuition is saying versus men?
There's only one word to describe that, and the word is ego. So men, unfortunately, has an ego. So when women, we all have intuition, because all of us have a subconscious mind that works at 300,000 actions per second. It works 360 degrees. So I know what is happening behind my back.
Yeah.
Bob, I don't know how, but what's happening behind you. You didn't see it with your senses, but you know what's happening. And that is what intuition is. So let's say, for instance, I'm walking to the door and somewhere behind me, someone ran past the window. I did not notice consciously, but subconsciously, I am aware that it happened. Now my intuition tells me, don't walk out the front door. What does women do? We are emotional beings. We listen. If I don't feel well because something's off, and you know how it is, if I feel I shouldn't go out the door, what are we going to do? We're not going to go out the door. The younger men are, the more testosterone they've got in their bodies, they have the same feeling, but they wouldn't listen. Why would I not go out? There's no reason for that. Let's go see what's outside. And then they just walk. So they would use their conscious mind to logically think of, why shouldn't I walk out the door? Nothing tells me that there's a reason not to do that. And they don't listen to their intuition. I just had a guy in my training when I did this. He said to me, I know exactly what you're talking about. He's young. I think he's in his early 30s. And he said, if I did that, if I listened to my intuition, I would not have been hijacked. He said because something happened, his flight canceled. He was going to go and pick up his new car. His flight canceled, and his body told him, leave it. Do not go today. Tomorrow's another day. Go home, book another flight for tomorrow. Something went wrong. The flight was canceled or something. and he was angry and he was logical and he said, no, I want to go today. He ignored that warning. He booked
Mhm.
another flight. He flew. And as he was driving from the airport, picked up his car, drove back, he got hijacked. And he truly believes that if he listened, he would not have been there that day. He would have gone the next day and he would not have
Mm.
been hijacked. But men don't listen. So that's the first thing. The other thing I found with men in investigations is they are scary, they are intimidating, they push too much, where women are very emotional, very soft
Mm.
beings. You will speak, if a woman is properly trained, like my analysts are all trained, they're all trained in NLP, they're all
Mhm.
trained in profiling, they're trained in interrogation, they are soft and they listen and they know how, and they push through with what they pick up from that person. They know how their intuition works and they know which questions
Mm.
to ask. So in being soft, you remember there's an old saying, something like, you're going to get more with honey than sour. I can't honey that
Yeah.
better with honey
Okay.
than vinegar. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So because if you are in a situation where you did something wrong, you are scared, you know that you stole the money and you don't know how to get out of this situation. If I put a big man in front of you that's interrogating you and scaring you, you're going to close up like a book. You're going to be so
Mm.
scared. If I put a soft spoken, soft woman in front of you that has the ability to pull information from you because you feel comfortable with her. She's got the ability to build rapport because she's trained to do so. And she just comes around the corner and sneaky, and she pulls out all the information. Why? Because I want to speak to you. Because
Mm.
people that are in a very people want to speak the truth. Uh, totally thing that I actually saw in my 13 years of doing this. They
Mhm.
all want to come out with the truth because hiding things are scary. It's work. It's difficult. You can't remember what the hell I told this person and what am I. You can't. It feels like there's a weight falling off of your shoulders the moment you confess, and you
Yeah.
actually want to confess. So that is why a lot of the times I have to say to someone, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're cheating on your wife. I didn't ask you. We're talking about this now. We're not talking about that. I don't care that you're using drugs now. Yes, it's people give us too much information. They
Yeah.
give us because they so if you can make them feel comfortable, they will speak to you. And that is the difference between a woman and a man interrogator because they just soft spoken. It's easier to
Mm.
confess to a woman than to a scary man. And that's
Yeah.
not nothing, against the men, but it's just the way I found that my women interrogators are better than the men. So yeah, I think we're born to do this to make people feel comfortable.
Right. And it's true what you were saying about like this, as soon as you get someone to open up about one thing, then they just sort of spill their guts. And
Yeah.
now you have like, you're like, I did not need to know that. That's very
Yes.
interesting. Now, on a lighter note, something that you have gotten into is silk aerialism. And this is one of those activities that may be a little bit intimidating to the average person just because you're up in the air the whole time. But how did you get into that? That's an interesting hobby to sort of have. How did you end up?
Okay, so my oldest daughter is a pole fitness instructor. There's a big difference between pole dancing and pole fitness. Pole
Yes.
fitness, those women are so strong, their core is unbelievable.
Mm.
So she did that, and she's also an aerial silk instructor. And we ended up, she ended up bullying me into opening an aerial studio in Nelspruit. So it was in 2020. We opened on the 1st of February, like
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks before COVID, which was horrible. But anyway, we opened up this huge 500 square meter building where we did bungee fitness, pole fitness, aerial silks. and the Kangoo boots. So everything we did was elevated. And then I was supposed to just be the owner of this business. And then I thought, you know what? People are, like you say, they're scared. They all
Mhm.
want to do it, but they're too scared to come and try it. So you've got these instructors up in the air, and people look at them and they say, "Oh my word, I'm going to break my neck. I can't do
Yeah.
that." And then they don't even want to try because they're too scared. Even the young girls, the girls in high school, we found, okay, yeah, you're young, you can try this. They're too scared.
Mm.
And then my sister-in-law and I, we're both grandmothers at that stage already. And we just looked at this and we said, well, if we want to pull the people here, if the grandmothers can do it, then you don't have an excuse. So we
Right.
sort of did it to try and pull the youngsters to say, listen, man, if the grannies can do it, what are you scared of? And it took
Mm.
us literally like 3 to 4 months just to be able to climb 6 meters up, because you have to pull your body weight. So it took us a long time, just to build that core to be able to do this. And then, like, after a year, we were totally hooked. I absolutely loved it, because then I realized how I'm able to push my limits.
Right.
If you can push your limits in your body and
Mhm.
do things that you never ever thought you would be able to do, do you know how much more you can push your mind and in everything that you do?
Mhm.
Because if I'm not too scared to do that triple drop and I end up doing it, and wow, what a feeling, then tomorrow you up to the next thing and the next thing.
Right.
And it pulls through to your life, because now all of a sudden I'm not scared to do anything. I'm
Mhm.
not scared to try anything, because bloody hell, if I can do that, what else can I do? So yeah, I love the feeling of what it did for me to say you can push your physical limits, and it means you can
Mhm.
push your mental limits, because it's a very mental sport. um, if you look at those women and you look at them, how they do those triple drops, and you think, oh my word, I can never do that. And then you sort of break it down and you start with the first one, and then you do a double drop, and then you end up doing a triple drop, and you think, "Oh, okay, I'm doing this. How did
Yeah.
I do it?" It's a mental thing, but you have to learn to push yourself. And yeah, I've sold the studio, unfortunately, and we moved to Longabon, so I sold my rig. So I haven't done it in like 10 months or so, but
Mhm.
I loved it. It was absolutely, for me, it was so much more than a sport. It
Yeah.
taught me how much more we can do than what we think we're capable of doing.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to a belief that I have that, like, you need evidence with anything. If you're scared to do something, you can pull on evidence from like other instances where you were brave. If you feel like, I'm not that extroverted, or I'm not that strong, it's like, yeah, but I go to gym and I lift like 20 kilograms on each arm. Sure, I can pick this up. Sure, I can do that. So yeah, it's really cool how that works.
It is, it's amazing. And I think I told you when we spoke on a previous day, I told you that you are able with your mind to make yourself instantly 3, 4 times stronger and
Mm,
heavier. And
yeah.
we teach women this when we teach them self-defense and things like that. Because if I need to be in the moment, let's say, for instance, I'm cable tied and I need to get out of it, I need that adrenaline. And
Mm,
where normally we think that adrenaline happens on its own, you are able to center yourself so that you can decide when you need that adrenaline. And you are
mm,
literally able to break that cable tie, because you are able to center and use it when you need it, not just wait for it to kick in. And we teach women how to do this, because we have the ability to manipulate the mind. It's what
right.
we were supposed to do. We just never knew we are able to do it.
Sure. Really, guys, go and grab a course from Dr. Lazelle. Some of these things are like very much applicable to just life in general and not necessarily just within the realm of work. You can use these in personal relationships, in just making sure that you're smashing your goals as well. It's very interesting what you do. And Dr. Lazelle, before I let you go, I would love to play a round of hot takes with you. It's our signature game over here at InnoStation. And how it works is I just ask you a series of rapid fire questions, and then you just answer with hot or not, depending on how you feel about it.
Okay.
Amazing. Cool. So the first thing I want to know is how you feel about horseback riding in the felt.
Not. I
No.
fell off a horse when I was very small, so definitely not.
Oh my goodness. That's like the one thing I'm like, I want horses when I'm older. When I retire, that's And how do you feel about karaoke? No.
So I'm actually an introvert, believe it or not.
Ah,
I taught myself how to speak in front of people, so I'm definitely not comfortable in singing. I don't even sing in the shower.
oh my gosh. How do you feel about doing a split in the air? Like especially on pole, you know how they're able to like do splits and do all of these things. How do you pattern not?
Yes, I love that.
Cool.
Yes,
How do you feel about daily meditation?
love that.
New Year's resolutions?
Uh, sure. Getting into teaching people more,
Mm-hmm.
learning more for myself. I don't think I'll ever stop learning. I'm going on to a different, I found a new few things that I'm interested in that I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to learn because I know that there's not a lot of people in South Africa that teach that. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to teach things to South African people that we don't have. So definitely in the new year, I'll be doing more of those things.
Amazing. How do you feel about pulling an all-nighter to watch a show?
I can do that.
I think we're all guilty of that. How do you feel about camping in the backyard?
I love camping. I don't think I'll do it in my own backyard. I believe in nature is so amazing. I
Yeah.
just look at the Cedarburgs now. We live close to the Cedarburgs. It's like an hour and a half away. And wow, I love camping. So not
Mm.
in my backyard though, but camping, yes.
And it's interesting because I find that like people that genuinely like to camp out in the wild, out in the world, wouldn't necessarily do it in their backyard. But like the backyard, people that don't necessarily feel like they want to be out there in the world are like, yeah, I could do my backyard.
Okay. Now that's boring.
Right? It's like you're at home. Technically, you're still at home. Now, because it's the season, how do you feel about fruitcake?
I never used to eat it, and just all of a sudden in my life, I grew loving it. So I love it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. How do you feel about going for the highest drop without any fear, especially because you're a silk aerialist? How do you feel about like,
Mm. I can do I can do an aerial drop. I don't know why,
Mhm,
but the silk around my body makes me feel safe. I will
mhm,
not jump out of a plane or in a bungee. Um, I had the opportunity at 16. My dad was a pilot. My brother was a skydiver, and I refused. I did not want to.
mhm.
No, I will not jump out of plane, but I will do a triple drop from 8 meters in the air. Yes, that'll do.
Fair enough. And how do you feel about holiday puns?
Holiday?
Holiday puns. So you know how everyone does like all these plays on words that have to do with like a specific holiday or a specific special day.
Um, I'm not very high on every specific day,
Mhm.
but I love holidays. I love Christmas time. I'm not good. I'm not good with like Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and all these things. But yeah, I think Christmas time is a special time of the year.
Cool. So, Dr. Lizelle, that was my last little question for hot takes. And before you leave, please plug your social media and also any other platform that you would like to sort of direct the audience to in case they want to get in touch with you and sort of learn more about what you do.
Okay, so my Facebook is the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
I have a private Facebook page, just my name, Lizelle Grobler. I
Okay.
prefer that they go to my professional one, which is Dr. Lizelle Grobler, because I put all my ads up there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good with social media, I have to warn you. My Instagram, I can't remember when I Twitter, Instagram, I'm not we're the older generation. We don't do well with social media. My website is just ikinesuforensic.co.za. So yeah, I'm TikTok. I am there, but I again don't do much there. So I think the best is just to visit my Facebook page, and yeah, they can see on my website what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's sort of me. I'm not too good with social media.
Awesome. Then we will link those in the description box for everybody to find. But thank you so much for your time, Dr. Lazelle. This was super informative and very fun, sort of learning all of these little things that you can implement.
Thank you, Cami. It was lovely speaking to you guys.
Awesome.